Welcome to CalCast, your Create International podcast. God Network News, where we give you a new perspective
on events happening in our world today.
This is GNN.
This is God Network News, episode 113. Welcome, GNN fans, to another episode of God Network News, the podcast that tells you what God's doing around the world. Not what CNN tells you, but what GNN tells you is going on in the world. If you're tired of listening to all of that crisis network news and you want to hear what God's doing, well, give us a listen. Greetings, faithful God Network News fans and all you new listeners to God Network News. We're really excited to be bringing you fresh news from the field of what God's doing amongst Unreached People Group. And we want to thank you for all of you that listened to our series on the Middle East and all of the incredible stories and the comments that you gave. Please don't hesitate to put comments on our website and any questions you might have. And do visit those links that we have put in the show notes if you're interested in getting in contact with some of those interesting people that are behind the stories. And we want to start a whole new series, and this one is going to be very exciting. We've got tremendous amount of stories, fantastic, incredible stories of God's miracles from the continent of deep, dark Africa. Actually, it's not deep, dark Africa anymore because about 60% of the population of that continent are now believers in Jesus. But there are still many unreached people groups there, and we've got a lot of workers that are doing incredible work amongst those remaining unreached people groups. And I hope that you will be inspired by all of these great stories from the continent of Africa. Greetings, God Network News listeners. Here we are for another awesome story from the field. We're here still in South Africa, gathered together with some incredible people that are doing amazing work amongst unreached people groups. And today we have a brother named Fred who's doing some incredible things and working with teams that are doing work amongst unreached people groups here in the southern part of Africa. And he had a story that he wanted to share with us, and it's a pretty exciting story. So Fred, why don't you just tell us what you can, what you're able to about yourself, and then let us know about the story.
Yes, my name is Fred. For 13 years, we worked amongst the Yao people in the northern part of Mozambique. It's a Muslim people group, but really the movement has taken off after we've left. So in that village and surroundings, we've seen about 900 Muslims come to the Lord.
Wow, praise the Lord.
And this is amongst the Yao people. And one day at that village, a visitor came from another tribe. His name is Jacinto, and he's from the Makua Meto tribe, another unreached people group.
Wow.
And he visited the village and he got to know Pedro, and he came to the Lord. And when he came to the Lord, he was really so convicted of his own sin. And he told Pedro, the Waiwama there, he told Pedro, I need to go to my family and ask forgiveness for my sins. I've messed up. And he asked Pedro, can you come with me? So Pedro said, no problem. It's about 150 kilometers, another area and another unreached people group. And when he got home, he called his family, his brothers and his father together. And when they were together, he went down on his knees and he said to his dad, I'm so sorry for what I did. He, on his knees there, he just repented of the sins that he did and the shame he's brought on the family. And he cried and his dad cried. And it was such a God moment there. And when that happened, the uncle was not there. The uncle is a very influential man in that area. He's the leader of 10 mosques. And when he heard about it, he said, this can only be God. And he invited Pedro Pedro and Jacinto and said, Pedro, can you come and talk about this Jesus in our mosque?
Wow.
So he gave Pedro the opportunity to preach in the mosque. And when Pedro
Wow, that's
gave the
incredible.
salvation message in the mosque there in Northern Mozambique, he was so touched by the gospel. And he called the 10 mosque leaders together. And when they came together, he told Pedro, Pedro, please, can you go and talk about Jesus in each one of these mosques?
Oh, my goodness.
And he told these leaders of the mosque, he said to them, this is Pedro. He's coming. He's going to teach you about Jesus.
Oh, my goodness.
And
that's
Jacinto
great.
then started to work amongst the villages. He started to share his testimony, to share the gospel, and people started to come to the Lord. It was just a God thing. This is a least reached tribe, and that whole area, there were no churches. It was just Muslim village upon Muslim village. And when Jacinto started sharing the gospel, of course, this has repercussions in the village. And one day after they were together in the mosque, one Friday, the guys just came for Jacinto, and they grabbed him and they started beating him.
My.
And someone had to intervene to actually save his life. And the chief, the whole village was in turmoil, and the chief actually wanted Jacinto to lay some charges against these people. And Jacinto, he was really shocked by all of this. And we took him out for the village for some time. And I was there at the training just before he went back to the village. And I said, but Jacinto, are you going back there? And he said, you know, when you work in the field with a hoe, sometimes you will hit your toe and it will bleed. But that's because you are working. I need to go back to my field to work.
Wow.
So he went back to that village. And the chief wanted him to lay a charge, but he went to the man who attacked him, who led the whole group. And he said, I'm not going to lay any charge to you. I forgive you. And then there was no more persecution. They just left him alone. They respected him.
Wow.
And he preached the gospel. Now we have second and third generation fellowships there.
Praise the
because of
Lord.
Jacinto's group. More than 60 people have come to the Lord in that village, and even in other villages, because those people, those disciples of him, are also making disciples.
Wow.
So after about another year or so that he worked, 3 years in total after he came to the Lord, Jacinto really felt for another area where there are no churches, amongst another people group.
Wow.
So he's from the Makua Meto tribe, and that's where he preached the gospel, hearing it amongst the Yao people, and now he went to the Makua Shirima, another unreached people group. And he went to this area, and the night he came there was a problem in the village because a Christian came to visit, and when the Christian died, the imams, it's a Muslim village, they said, we're not going to bury this person, this is a Christian.
Right, they can't do it.
And the family was so shocked, what are they going to do? Jacinto said, I will do it, I will bury her. And he was just there at the right time and really opened the hearts of the people the first day he's there in that village.
That's amazing.
For the gospel.
Wow, that's incredible. What a story. It just shows how the Lord can use people, just ordinary people, if they'll just be obedient. And it also shows that sometimes we need to suffer for Christ, right? It's not all easy, is it?
No, it's not. And especially not for those guys. And just the way, Jacinto is a simple guy. He has his field, he works, and he still works in his garden, but he works just enough to survive so that he has time to preach the gospel.
Yeah.
But he never went out of the village to become a YWAM or go to do training outside. He was just discipled by Pedro and others in that village, and the things he received and he learned, he taught others.
Yeah, that's so biblical, isn't it? To pass on what he has been taught to others that will be faithful to pass it on to others. And that's what this whole disciple-making movements are all about. It isn't just making a disciple, it's making disciplers of other disciplers of other disciplers. So, and that's what continues to cause the growth to happen exponentially. Yeah, that's an exciting story, and it's wonderful to hear about this, because this is people that have never heard of Jesus before. Most people would look at them and say, oh no, they'll never come to Christ. They're strong Muslims, and it's just exciting to see what's happened amongst the Yao people. And it's exciting to hear your story too. I know you've told us your story before, how you went to the Yao many years ago, and you worked hard, and you were there for a while, and you were praying and everything, and saw a little bit of fruit, but nothing like what's been happening now. But you planted the seeds, and God watered it and brought the increase. And so it's just so exciting to see you've got an amazing legacy amongst this people group.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Fred, for sharing that story. Very exciting. God Network News fans, I hope that you'll be praying for this movement amongst the Yao people, that it will just continue to grow, and that God will get glory amongst this people. They will come to know this God that loves them and died for them to save them from their sin and shame. Okay, thank you so much, Fred.
Bless you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider donating to help us continue to bring exciting stories fresh from the field. Visit our website at godnetworknews.com and select the PayPal link on the right side of the page, or consider becoming a Patreon partner to receive access to more valuable materials exclusive to our members.